Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio network, the number one network in the United States. And also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. Today is our 1 year anniversary. We actually started last year on leap year, which was February 29th, but we know it only comes around every 4 years, Big C. So today is March 1st, 2017. We want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports throughout the year. Also, as well as across the pond in Paris, France, as well as London, England. And there's no one I love more than Canada but the United States. But I just want to pay homage to Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. Now, Big C, no one can complain about at least those two, I guess 10, 15 seconds that I give, but there's no one I love more than them good old boys down south with the land of the free and the home of the brave, Big C. Happy anniversary. How is it going for you big old boys, Big C?
Well, I keep trying to figure out who you got to stand in before you try to sing that song, because I've listened to your opera for a long time,
Yeah.
that kind of deep, so, I don't know who's who, the players going on here, on the Big C show.
Yeah, I don't know, Big C. That's funny.
We got a warm, wet day going on down here, so
Yeah.
some mysterious weather and everything going on. It's just another beautiful day, it was great to wake up and have a 1 year anniversary, and I was expecting at least to have some interest or something, in the mailbox, but, I guess you get what you get. But, I congratulate you and thank you, for, spending the last year with each other. It's been a wonderful run, and, looking forward to year two and having even bigger and better times, Joe.
Oh, definitely. And I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. We're going to be changing up some of our sponsors on this program today as we move forward into 2017. A lot of good things on the horizon for Big C Sports. But Big C, as we get into it, I just want to say, number one, last night, President Trump had a speech to the country, and for the first time, he sounded a bit more presidential. But as people always say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He never atoned for the hate mongering that he had and the birther comments that he had about President Obama, and also some of the things he said about grabbing women by the vagina. He never atoned for that. So I'm more impressed with someone when they apologize for what they know they did wrong than when they just grandstand and tell you how great they're going to be in the future. So I do want to give him a chance, but he never atoned. And how do you forgive someone who never atones, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Tom, I don't even know if it's so much about atonement because that's something you're not going to get from him. But, putting a stamp and being directional on what he's talking about in a presidency, I think we need more of that than, just a calm voice.
Yeah.
And that's what he tried to display last night. But, you have to be definitive when you're the president of which direction you're taking the country in. Show the country what they can expect. I mean, words are beautiful. Eloquency comes with a lot of people. But just with eloquency does not mean that you have substance. And that's what the American people are looking for more than anything else.
Yeah.
Is substance versus grandstanding. I mean, he's grandstanded for a long time on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
But even in the first month of his presidency, Charlton.
Yeah.
But we need some substance. We need for these plans that he's talking about implement. I'm a little sick about repeal and replace Obamacare.
Yeah, that's stupid.
That.
Yeah.
That sounds like, when I was a kid, we had these records, these 45 RPM records, and they would get a scratch in them, and they would repeat the same word over and over.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's starting to sound like. It's
Yeah.
like a throwback to the 60s, Charlton, where we got that same word over and over.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody can move that needle over.
Yeah.
And that's what we're waiting with the president. Somebody's got to move the needle.
Yeah.
You can sit and sign all these executive actions. Executive actions are like you signing a check with no money on it, okay?
Yeah.
That's what an executive action is. That's just an individual signing a piece of paper saying, this is what I think. Okay? It's really not a law.
Yeah.
Otherwise, judges wouldn't have repealed it.
Yeah.
Okay? This is an action to say, I'm putting my name on paper. Put an action on paper.
Yeah.
Action is going to benefit the American people. because you go out and ban a Muslim country, Charlton, that's no benefactor to the American people.
No.
Show us, the American people, where are we going to achieve all this financial fortitude that you talked about giving us during your campaign?
Yeah.
All these greatnesses of wealth, this employment opportunities that are going to come about, these 50 million jobs that are going to be created in America now that you're the president.
Yeah.
You know, it got to at least create 5,000 first. Okay?
You got to start.
Let's get 5,000
You got to start someplace, Big C. And, you know, as we always bring with Big C Sports, I think we're the only sports program out there in the sports world on the planet Earth that does it freestyle, no teleprompter, no producer in the ear. And we cover from Hollywood to political as well as sports because it is real talk. And I just want to touch on before I just pay homage to one of the greatest activists in the history of my time and arguably in the history of the world. But I just want to touch on Hollywood when I go here because Mahershala Ali, who is considered the best supporting actor for his role in Moonlight, the drama, which had a lot of diversity in the show. And we talk about diversity throughout Hollywood and sports and how it all impacts how people think. So I want to congratulate Mahershala Ali. I hope I pronounced his name properly, but he is a Muslim gentleman, and he would also be part of the band that Trump has talked about. So I just want to congratulate everybody who believes in diversity. And one of the greatest, I guess, political and intelligent, well-read figures. Yeah.
You talk about putting politics and sports and Hollywood, all of what we do together.
Yeah.
And I look at the direction that you're going and that we're going. And I want to pay homage to this guy also.
Yeah.
Guy's name is Harry Belafonte. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Harry Belafonte today turned 90 years old.
Wow.
Okay? One of the greatest icon activists of American history in the United States.
Yeah.
We're talking about a man who worked in Hollywood, who was an icon,
Yeah.
worked with everybody, who was a political civil rights activist, Charlton.
Yeah.
Who was the voice of the Calypso song. For years, everybody is aware of Harry Belafonte and his actions. He has never hidden behind his professionalism, saying that my career meant more than other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that people don't understand, Charlton, when they talk about activism, is that you're willing to sacrifice all of what you've done to help prepare life better for others.
Yeah.
And this is what Harry Belafonte has done in his 90 years of life.
Yes.
He is still an activist, Charlton. He has not stopped. And, you know, he's one of the great iconic actors. You know, it would have been wonderful another night for the Oscars to have paid
Acknowledge him. Yeah.
to a man of his stature, Charlton.
Yeah.
90 years of age. You don't know how many more awards, you know, he may be able to see. But to get that humanitarian a lifetime achievement,
Yeah.
this is what individuals like Harry deserve. And not just because he was on film, Charlton, but because he's been on the front line. He marched along with Dr. King.
Oh, yeah.
With Gregory, Ralph Abernathy, John Lewis. These gentlemen, Charlton, he was right there. Now, this is a guy who was well off in society.
Yeah.
Who did not need to be out there saying, well, hey, that's somebody else's struggle because financially I'm okay.
Yeah.
But socially, he was not okay.
Yeah.
That's where he was. And that's the power of black power when they talked about it over the years.
Yeah.
That it meant more than what you had in your pocket. It was the subconscious of the mind that you possessed. And that's what so much of American society has lost today. It's so much about what's in your wallet. We hear that commercial on television.
Sam Jackson. Yeah.
And so many people think about that in life. And it's true. But even more so, it's what's in your mind and in your heart. Dr. King spoke about that infinitely. You know, the content of your character.
Yeah.
That's what we need as Americans. And that's what the point that the president missed last night.
Yeah.
What was the content of his character? When people want to talk about how powerful and poignant his speech was.
Yeah.
But he never talked about the content of his character, Charlton. That's where he missed the point to the American people last night. Harry Belafonte would have told you the content of his character.
Yeah. And that's very true.
The president would but not so, Charles.
You see, that's a shame, too, because when we talk about sports and athletics and how it intertwines with life, and we're really the first show to start blending sports in Hollywood. Now almost every sports talk show from Fox or ESPN or ABC, CBS, they all have, even TNT, they all have a Hollywood figure there, at least on a weekly basis, Big C. And I think that's great, because who has the most money to buy these tickets outside of Hollywood players and athletes, Big C? But it's just important that I think we also call a spade a spade. If we're not doing something right, let us know, and we'll do the same thing. I think that's very important. And so last year we started out, Big C. We were right at the cusp of the NFL draft. And we'll cover some of that coming up. But I just want to bring this point up as we talk about the NFL draft. There's so much movement going on, Big C. And last year, I just want to remind the whole sports world, all over the world, even in the universe, Big C, there were two guys that were being pegged as the number one, number two, can't-miss NFL prospects. It was Goff out of California, Berkeley, who was 14 and 26 as a starter in 3 years at Cal Berkeley. He was the number one pick overall by the Los Angeles Rams. And then there was Carson Wentz out of North Dakota. And Carson Wentz, I think he won his first 2 or 3 games. And then down the stretch, he went about 2 and 12 or whatever the rest of it was, Big C. So just your thoughts on how they missed it last year. But just like Trump, they want to tell you how wrong they were. Your thoughts, Big C.
Well, Charlton, when you start the combine, what really is the combine?
Yeah.
You got a showcase of guys running around in tight shorts for a week. Okay?
Yes.
All right. That does not make a football player. I mean,
Wait a minute, Big C. I run around in tight shorts too, okay? I'm just not on camera, Big C, so nothing wrong with tight shorts, okay? Okay, tell me and Gene Simmons, right? Okay. Had an opportunity for the last year, if not the last 2 years. Yeah.
To watch these players play anywhere from 12 to 14 games a season, okay?
Yeah.
And so if you can't evaluate a player over that time, because the players that you invite to the combine are those players that you've seen out on the field.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the intangibles that a guy has during the combine, and I've seen many occasions, and I remember one time going to training camp, and they had the third strongest man in the country they had brought in, okay?
Yeah.
Trying to make an offensive lineman out of it. I mean, the guy everybody looked at him, and we were all in awe of him. The guy had a body that just made you drool, and you were a man looking at a man.
Well, was that the time I walked out there on the field, Big C? Is that the one you're talking about?
But, you looked at him, and the thing was, because I had to go to this guy for about a week in practice before he ended up getting cut.
Yeah.
And the thing was, is like, okay, he can't bench press laying on his back, standing on his feet.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
He has to be stationary and stable to command his strength.
Well,
he couldn't operate his strength out of mobility, and this is what we're looking at the combine. You bring guys in and say, okay, how many reps can he do?
Yeah.
Okay, he's laying on his back doing these reps, Charlton. I understand the 40 times. 40 times are nice.
Yeah.
But they have no clothes on. They're naked. All right?
Yeah.
Show me some clothing speed on the field. Jerry Rice at the combine when he came out, ran 4.7.
Yeah.
Everybody's laughing at the guy.
And he couldn't catch it first, Big C.
31,000 yards later, everybody said, well, I guess we made a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that 40 time wasn't about what he could do in a game.
Yeah.
You look at Randy Moss, people say, well, he had a poor work ethic. He's number 3 all-time receiver in NFL history.
Yeah.
History, okay?
And not in the Hall of Fame yet, I believe. Still not in the Hall of Fame yet.
Still not in the Hall of Fame. Owens was a 4th-round draft pick. He's number 2 all-time in the receiving category. So just because you have a combine does not mean you're going to get it right. There are more busts at draft picks, Charlton, 1st-round draft picks than there are at 2nd-round draft picks when you look at the NFL.
And ironically, Big C, when you bring that up, you just brought up the top 3. I believe T.O. is in the top 3 or 4 as far as reception.
We're talking 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and only 1 is in the Hall of Fame.
And Owen, and only Rice is in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. And see,
Charlton, let's look at these quarterbacks. You talked about the quarterbacks that went 1 and 2 last year.
Yeah,
okay?
Wentz and Goff. Yeah.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay, now I recall about 4 or 5 years ago, there's a little kid out of Wisconsin named Wilson, about 5'10".
Yeah.
Went in the third round. And, you know, he hasn't had that decent of an NFL career from, you know, based on Mel Kiper's perspective.
Yeah, and why is Mel Kiper still the guy that they use you would think, just like a draft pick, you trade people up. Mel Kiper has not been that accurate. If people will just look at what he's done over the last 10 years, Big C, half of his picks, you could guess, guys in Las Vegas get a better job picking guys. And I don't know why they keep saying that he's a sterling example of what you're going to follow and put him on TV and tell us. And they won't come up and say that he had a bust in golf. And even Wentz didn't do that great. And none of them had Prescott pegged that high. Now they're all kissing his tail. But they need to come on and say, look, I messed up and I only scored about 30% right on my last exam, but I'm going to get it better this time. They won't even do that, Big C.
You know, you see bust in golf. I mean, this guy wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about what Kiper did.
Yeah.
And when we talk about Prescott's a fourth-round draft pick. Okay?
Yeah.
You got two quarterbacks that went 1 and 2 in the draft. You actually had 3 quarterbacks go before Prescott. Even Jacoby Brissett was in the England before Prescott.
Yeah.
Went in the draft. Prescott individually had more victories than all the rookie quarterbacks combined in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
One quarterback, a fourth-round draft pick out of Dallas, a minority black quarterback, had more victories as a starting quarterback than all the other rookie quarterbacks combined in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so when you say, well, you know, based on the statistics, what the guy did at the combine,
yeah,
it's like Deshaun Watson, Charlton, cut me out of Clemson this year. He's had back-to-back 14-win seasons, okay?
Yeah.
Back-to-back. And you spoke at the beginning that Jared Goff won 14 games in 3 years.
Yeah.
And people are saying that Deshaun Watson is not as good a quarterback as Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Now he's had back-to-back, you know, 14-win seasons.
National championship games.
National championship game.
Yeah.
Winning one.
Yeah. And see, this is where, if you just want to have someone talk, that's fine. Even if we're wrong, call us out on it. You can follow us on Twitter, on the iHeart Radio Network as well. But if someone is off, why don't you just come out? You know, they always post the one-loss record of an athlete. They always post the one-loss record of a team. Take every broadcaster, especially the ones that you tab as an expert. Now, if you're just on a column and he's going to have 3 or 4 guys on a round table, they even do that. Who had a winning and a losing record during this season? A lot of sports networks will do that. But they don't do the same for Kiper and the other guy, McShay. They never tell you how many guys they missed on. And I was looking at an article. It was actually in one of the major sports magazines, and it talked about some of the guys who were considered a bust in the draft. And ironically, none of the quarterbacks that we just talked about were in there. And I think that if you look at the bust, Goff had to be the biggest bust because every GM was being told that he's the best pick based on Kiper. But Kiper was so wrong that this guy not only got benched after he started, they're even thinking about, they know they made the wrong choice and even cost his head coach's job, Big C. But they have this same guy again, Kiper, telling us who we should listen to again, and they just go under the radar. Why did they not be held accountable for their mistakes also, Big C?
Well, Charles, if you look over the past 2 decades while Mel Kiper's been doing this,
yeah,
and you look at the can't-miss quarterbacks that he has talked about, Jeff George,
yeah,
you know, out of Illinois, Ryan Leaf out of Washington State,
yeah,
Tim Rosenbaugh out of Washington State.
Yeah.
There's plenty others, Charlton, up and down the list that he has gone out to. This guy's a can't miss. He's ready. You know, he called Prescott last year project.
Yeah, a project quarterback.
He sit back for a couple years and learn under Romo.
Yeah. So even at that part right there, see, and this is not jumping on Kiper. It's just we keep hearing the same thing about athletes. If the guy's not getting it done, get rid of him, trade him. So why does this guy show up on TV every year telling us what was erroneous information? And even some teams are foolish enough to listen to it. And here he is again telling us the same thing. I remember they had some talks about one of the a bust was Chris Henry at running back, and he was drafted in the second round, 50th overall. I think he came out of Alabama by Tennessee. That guy's an impressive running back, but he's sharing the backfield with another strong player and a quarterback that can run and pass. Yeah, with Murray.
You know, who led the NFL in rushing just 3 years ago in Dallas.
Yeah, so he's always going to come on and say how great these quarterbacks are, usually Caucasian quarterbacks. But when we have same thing. Yeah.
He should have been a number 1 draft pick.
Yeah. We saw how they played, and we saw how he played for the Raiders in the.
He got 1 game, and
yeah.
the Raiders might have not even played. Just mail that in and say
yeah.
the same airplane fair.
So when someone like that is picking Cook, who was not that impressive at Michigan State. I think his last game was a 41-0 shutout to Alabama, either 41 or 31-0. And then you have a guy like Watson, who led up the Alabama defense 2 years in a row. I mean, 2 years in a row, he threw for nearly 1,000 yards, total offense, combined rushing and passing, against the best defensive players in college football. And all of a sudden, when he goes to the NFL level, now he's no better than a second or third round pick. Who's telling you that garbage, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, this is the guys who don't want to say that the guys that they picked last year talking was bust.
Yeah.
And so the only way to try to save face on the guys that they sold the farm on last year talking is to try to undermine the players that are coming out this year, that everybody has taken an eye test on this.
There's a comedian, Big C, by the name of, I think it's called Richard Pryor, and you may remember him, one of the greatest comedians in the history of comedy. And I remember he had a segment where he was doing kind of a thing that some athletes do. He was cheating on his spouse or his girlfriend, and in the way his wife walks in the house and he's laying on the couch with a Playboy bunny, and she said, "Richard, I can't believe you do this. I'm so hurt, Richard. I can't believe you do this to me." And he said, "Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?" Okay, so he talked himself out of that. Is that what Kuiper's doing, Big C?
Yeah, and honestly, talking that's what he's doing. He's skating around better than Wayne Gretzky with skate on ice.
Yeah.
That's what Kuiper does. When a team makes a pick, and it's not what Kuiper was guessing on, you're like, well, that's a stretch, that's a reach. They could have got him a round or two later.
Yeah.
There's no need in wasting that pick. Okay, so what Kuiper is saying that he's more intelligent than the GMs and directors and player personnel in the NFL.
Yeah.
That build these teams, Charles, and that keep these teams in the playoffs. That keep these teams stacked with roster players.
Yeah.
Now Kuiper's walking around calling people, asking, "Tell me who you got."
Yes.
That's what he's doing. He's walking around, "Tell me who you got that's a good player." Yes, he'll see some good players on college games, but that's also the same guy that said Blaine Gabbert was better than Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we've seen Blaine Gabbert in the same amount of time has only won 8 games as a starter in the NFL.
Yeah.
Cam Newton has been to the Super Bowl and the MVP.
Well,
Mel Kiper said that Blaine Gabbert was a better pro prospect and quarterback at the time than what Cam Newton was, and I think Cam also won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
So when you look at these things, he said Blake Bortles was a can't miss, and he's never won more than 5 games in
in his career, yeah.
He talked about how great a prospect Ryan Tannehill was. The Dolphins finally made the playoffs, but he was hurt.
Yeah.
So, when you look up and down the list at these quarterbacks that he has talked about that can't miss, matter of fact, he said Luke Jokel was the best offensive tackle in college football when they came out over Eric Fisher, who was starting off the tackle with the Kansas City Chiefs. Jokel went to Jacksonville and is being released.
Yeah.
He was the best offensive lineman, so, they release you at the end of your rookie contract.
Yeah.
So up and down the list, this guy is making these assessments, and he's never put on a job. I mean, he might have sweated to come to him or something.
Yeah, I understand. And
he's never put on a job.
At least you would think the network.
I'm always questioning when you make these analogies about athletes, and you've never been an athlete. How can you say you're the most accurate individual around and GMs are dumb compared to you?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to look at the record and don't go by the rhetoric, just like the Trump administration. But when you think about, I just want to backtrack a little bit. You talked about some great receivers as far as what they do on the field. And you mentioned the great Jerry Rice, who really didn't have good hands until they worked with him with the 49ers out of Mississippi Valley State. And then you talked about the great Terrell Owens, and he was just a stud of an athlete. Still looks like he can play the game, but we know it takes it out of you. And then you look at Randy Moss, the top 3 receivers in the history of the NFL, arguably, and you may want to toss in Chris Carter, but the top 3, they played for the 49ers, Big C. And when I look at what's going on in San Francisco right now, they have, I believe, only one player left that played on the Super Bowl on the offensive side of the ball, and that's Holiday. Okay, they have a tackle. So 2 players, and then Kaepernick has decided to opt out. Maybe he's going to shop the waters and see how much better of an offer he could get elsewhere. Also, there's a lot of enmity, even in the Bay Area, and I'm surprised by that, for Colin Kaepernick standing up for Black Lives Matter. That's what he has faced a lot of enmity for, Big C. He faces more hatred over that than Donald Trump faced by grabbing a woman by the vagina and bragging about it on television while he's married. And he became president. Colin Kaepernick, the people want to ship him out of the country. Your thoughts on that? I know people get uncomfortable, but I don't care. Why does he get more flack over that than a guy who brags about grabbing women by the crotch and has a ban on Muslims? Big C, your thoughts?
You know, what happened, Charlton, this was an African-American, Charlton, bringing social consciousness to white people, making them understand what they were doing wrong, and they were saying, who is he?
Yeah.
To be so brazen to go out and speak about us in a negative light in public. We know what we're doing wrong, but we don't want to tell people what we're doing wrong. That this is that backdoor conversation that you're supposed to have. Colin Kaepernick made it to the forefront.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to say that, you know, he ran down the ratings in the NFL. He didn't run down
no,
the
he didn't.
He may have brought up the ratings in the NFL when you think about it, because so many people wanted to jeer him at the time. But, you know, his actions were not the game. His actions were not the political climate in America. But, you know, he was a distraction that people wanted to create.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick did nothing negative.
Yeah.
You know, you're thinking about him, you know, here it is, he's going to opt out of his contract in San Francisco, Charlton.
Yeah.
Which rightfully so, they tried to get rid of him all last year.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, there's at least 12 other teams in the NFL that have a quarterback that were not as good as Colin Kaepernick. People talk about, well, nobody pick him up, nobody give him a shot.
Yeah.
He's just a backup wherever he goes. There are at least a dozen teams in the NFL, Charlton, that didn't make the playoffs, that did not have a quarterback with the statistics of Colin Kaepernick. You think about it, Charlton, he was only 1-10 as a starter.
Yeah.
But while he was playing, every opponent that they faced, their running back had over 100 yards against the 49ers defense.
And he accounted for over 70% of their offense in the games that he played. One player, Big C.
Well, think about this, Charlton. His touchdown to interception ratio. He threw 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Yeah,
okay?
that's 4-1.
That's Tom Brady's statistic.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, when they talk about
So wait, hold on. Are you saying they're going to run Tom Brady out of town because they had the same QB touchdown to interception ratio, Big C?
Well, you know, there was only 3 quarterbacks that had that ratio, Charlton.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
That was Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, and Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And everybody was saying he was washed up.
Yeah.
He had a better QBR rating the backs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay? But he had no defense. And he had no offense around him.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Go ahead, Big C. I think you're having a little bit of sound with the microphone, but I understand it is a thing that race will always matter, and it's a shame that it still matters, you know, in the NFL, because if you're about winning, you know, you bring in a Shanahan who knows how to work with the quarterbacks. Okay, Colin Kaepernick, whether you love or hate him, I mean, you're stupid if you don't like him.
How to work with quarterbacks, Charlton. You're going to tell me that Matt Ryan hadn't been an all-pro quarterback prior to Kyle Shanahan arriving?
Yeah.
He was already an all-pro quarterback.
But he did.
Matt Ryan has not gotten any better. Charlton, when you think about the Atlanta Falcons season,
Yeah.
Great season. Yes, they went to the Super Bowl. When you think about it in the end, it seems like a great season.
Yeah.
They were 11-5, Charlton. 11-5.
Yeah.
The year before that, they were 8-8. So you got this great quarterback guru who only gave you a 3-game improvement.
Yeah.
Okay? So if he goes to San Francisco and they have a 3-game improvement, what's the record going to be?
Well, I understand that, but at least he got them.
What's the record going to be? They're going to be 4 and 5.
They won 2 games last year. They won 2 games last year.
Okay, so they're going to be 6-10.
Yeah.
If they improve at the same ratio, I mean 5-10.
Yeah.
5-11. They'll be 5-11 from this great quarterback guru.
Yeah.
So you really need to understand the numbers when you talk about how great somebody is. Matt Ryan had been throwing for 4,000 to 5,000 yards every season.
Right.
Okay? Kyle Shanahan didn't do anything to improve Matt Ryan. I mean, a 3-game improvement on the professional level is not a big hill that you climb.
Right.
Now, if the Falcons had been 14-2, now I'm thinking that the guy really done something because we have a 6-game improvement, but a 3-game improvement, Charlton?
Yeah.
That's the difference in making the playoffs and not making the playoffs.
But it's not always going to
dominating the division.
Right. I understand that, but it's not always going to fall on the quarterback. I'm just saying he's better offensively than Tom Sula, who was a defensive guy, and then Chip Kelly, who was always trying to be like the Oregon reinvented for the NFL, where the players are a lot bigger and stronger, and that maybe just doesn't work.
Was it Dan Quinn that was better?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Dan Quinn, who was the head coach? The head coaches get a lot of credit,
Yeah.
and they get a lot of blame.
Yeah.
But here's Kyle Shanahan getting all the credit. I think the Falcons improved more defensively than what they did offensively.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he installed a Seattle-type defense. they were able to stop people. Now, if you win 3 more games and your offense is basically the same productivity, that means that the offense is stopping people now, Charlton. They had the league-leading pass rusher.
Yeah.
That's part of Dan Quinn's MO. Okay? They had a linebacker core that could run from sideline to sideline. They had 4 young defensive backs. The oldest was in his second year in the league.
Yeah.
So I got to think a lot of that is from Dan Quinn. That offense was basically intact.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. When you think about going out to San Francisco, what would you see? Well, I mean, Kaepernick probably will leave just because the culture is bad. It has nothing about what his play is on the field. He's just, his QB touchdown to interception ratio is right there with Tom Brady, and that's about the only thing they have in common because they have 2 different teams. But I'm thinking if Colin Kaepernick played for Belichick, he would have the same kind of numbers or perhaps even better than Tom Brady. You put Tom Brady in the San Francisco 49ers offense, and they're no more than a 3 or 4 win team if they have the same supporting cast with them. What do you see can make a difference in the 49ers? We just talked about having the great Jerry Rice, having the great Terrell Lawrence, and even Randy Moss. They've had the best receivers in the history of NFL football play there. What's it going to take to build that organization again that just built a new stadium a couple of seasons ago, and they have a winning pedigree? What do you think would be the opportunity for them to start building back toward the playoffs, Big C?
Well, it's not John Lynch, Charlton. Let's start there and be realistic.
Yeah.
The person with John doesn't have the pedigree.
Well, wait, wasn't John a GM for the last couple of years for another team that made the playoffs, Big C?
Yes, it's called broadcast.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's called Fox Broadcast. Yeah, they're in the playoffs every year.
Okay, so you're saying experience doesn't matter? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, John Lynch made a statement last week.
Yeah.
That he looked at the 49ers on tape.
Yeah.
And he didn't see a 2-14 team.
Right.
Okay, now.
That's the moonshine talking, Big C.
I know I am for the moonshine every now and then. And Ron spent most of his career down south. So John had a quill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? But he said he didn't see a 2-14 team. The team wasn't that bad. Okay?
Right. Right.
If that's the lie you're coming, the first bad move with John Lynch is going to make Charlton.
Yeah.
Okay? He's going to go get Matt Schaub from Atlanta.
Oh, why?
Backup quarterback.
Why?
He's going to go get Matt Schaub because he's going to say Matt Schaub knows the Shanahan system.
Yeah.
When Matt Schaub started his career in Atlanta, he was drafted the same year that Michael Vick was, okay? He was a backup to Michael Vick. He went to Houston at free agency. He made the playoffs once. Every quarterback that's gone to Houston has made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But his career tanked after that, Charlton.
Yeah.
Okay? He became a gentleman. He hung out with you in Oakland for a couple of years.
Yeah, I understand.
And then he went back to Atlanta because he knew all he was going to do was be a backup because that's what his career was.
Yeah.
He was a backup. He had settled in mentally on being a backup. Now, they're going to bring him to San Francisco. That child has no mobility, okay?
Yeah.
We saw what happened with Blaine Gabbert with no mobility.
Yeah.
And you got to put him behind the same toilet paper off at the line.
Yeah. Well, I do think they're going to have a chance to show that, and I want the 49ers to do well because I cover them out here in the media, Big C, but I just don't see how you get a guy that has no experience whatsoever and you try to have him shore up what's been torn down over the last several seasons since they got rid of the coach that took them to the Super Bowl, and they didn't like winning, so they got rid of him. But even around the NFL, when we talk about quarterbacks and guys that can make a difference, I just noticed there's still some talk about Johnny Manziel, and there's a little bit of whispering, could Johnny Manziel be someone to turn the 49ers around? And I just have an issue with that because he did the same thing that Ray Rice did, and he's pretty much been banished from the NFL. Ray Rice played for the Baltimore Ravens and had that altercation, what they call assault, the same thing that Donald Trump bragged about. He did that to his wife, Big C, and got exiled from the league. And now Johnny Manziel did the similar type thing, but even worse because he shattered a woman's, I think, eye socket. And now he's saying, well, I'm contrite. The eardrum, okay. And now they're saying, well, that's okay. He's okay. He's Johnny. And they're thinking about trying to find a spot for him in the NFL.
Last week, TMZ had him down in Miami.
Yeah.
Partying on a yacht. Bottled alcohol in his hand. Yet he's supposed to be dry. He's supposed to be on sobriety run.
Yeah.
But here it is. He's on camera drinking. One of the things that the NFL said is you want an opportunity to return that you can no longer do.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, forget the NFL. I do what I want to do, but you guys got to let me. And people feeling sorry. Well, this is white Johnny Manziel. You
Yeah.
got to give him a break,
Yeah.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner. The guy, he made a mistake, give him a chance. Okay, this is the same thing they said about Lawrence Phillips, all right?
Yeah.
Out of Nebraska, the running back, and the Tom Osborne.
Yeah.
Did the same stuff that Johnny Manziel did, assaulting women, okay?
Yeah.
And eventually ended up in prison before losing his life. This is what Johnny Manziel maybe needs to be. If you're going to spend time assaulting women, going against what the shield stands for, saying, hey, I'm bigger than the shield and I can do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Why do the media give him so many opportunities? Why is he such a media darling? He's one of those guys that Mel Kiper said will help a team down the road. Will help what team? Alcohol Anonymous?
Yeah.
That's the only team he's going to help.
Well, let me ask you this question, because you just brought something up and it triggered something in my mind. You know how we talked about certain players weren't going to go to the White House and stand with Donald Trump because not only the accusations of being a racist and a sexist and a xenophobic behavior that he's exhibited in this birther movement that he and Bannon had against President Obama for 8 years. Now, the NFL and Roger Goodell, and I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but the NFL, they run these commercials about no violence against women, no assault against women, and we got to make sure that we protect women. They even have this thing where we wear pink for, I guess, breast cancer against women. So how does a league that's pro-women, anti-violence against women, have the NFL send their football team to stand next to a man, no matter what that man's job is, whether he's a car mechanic or whether he's a bus driver or a school teacher or a football coach, or grabs him by the vagina and brags about it? How do they say that's what we want to have these men do after we did this 1 week commercial on protecting women? Now they're standing next to Donald Trump in the White House. Now, how come there's nothing about Goodell saying no against that, Big C? Because that's tacitly consenting to the same garbage that Johnny Manziel has done against women, and also other players, if you want to throw Ray Rice in there also. When they
Josh Brown, the former kicker,
yeah, same thing.
Greg Hardy, there's been a plethora
all of them.
That have assaulted women that the NFL will no longer have association with.
So when you have
NFL and Roger Goodell, and I love what you just said.
Yeah.
Roger Goodell is going to advocate the NFL Super Bowl winning team going to the White House, hanging out with a guy who was bragged on audio about how he loves to assault women.
And called it locker room talk.
And so what Roger Goodell is doing is not vilifying the guy, but being an advocate for him to say, okay, the NFL stands against violence against women.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the White House when this guy is an advocate for violence against women and stand there and smile and take our pictures. So, is this not the true hypocritical guy being Roger Goodell? When you talk about protecting the shield, protecting the integrity of the game and the integrity of the league and its players, and you're going to allow your players to go hang out with a known molester, okay? And take pictures with them.
Yeah.
And blast it all over the room and say, hey, take pictures with the molester. As a matter of fact, give them a football and a jersey.
Yeah.
With number 45 on it.
And then they're going to...
That's what we want them to do and say, hey, the NFL, we're not political, but we're hanging out with the molester.
And now, see, and people think, oh, that's a stretch. But Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, which I'll give a slam dunk to, and a home run and a touchdown and whatever else you want to call it, because he had the decency to tell the state of North Carolina that if you're going to discriminate against people for whatever issue, that we're going to move our All-Star game out of North Carolina. So what we're saying is not a stretch. But Roger Goodell makes a lot more money than Adam Silver, if my math is right, Big C. And Adam Silver at least stood up to say, I'm not going to put my organization that I'm responsible for running into a state where they are anti-civil rights against whatever group of people. You could be black, white, Hispanic, whatever community that you want to discriminate against. He's saying, I'm taking my team and my All-Star game away from there. Now, why not, Goodell do the same thing with Donald Trump, whether he's in the White House or whether or not he's in other places? He still had accusations. I think there were 12 women that came forward, and they had some type of allegations against him. The same guy that took out a 4-page ad to send black men, the New York Five, to the death chamber, and they were innocent. Okay, they were innocent, and he never apologized for it. And now you're going to have this anti-violence against women, and after that, you're going to have all your football players standing around this one man that's xenophobic, homophobic, and brags about grabbing women by the vagina. And I'm sure if he grabbed your wife, you would not want to condone that. So why do they make a stand about that as opposed to this flat football garbage, Big C?
Well, Charles, not only as a sick man because he talked about even dating his daughter on television.
Oh, yeah.
What type of grown man would say that?
I have no idea.
Like a good-looking girl, she was my daughter, I'd be dating her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you're talking about dating a child. You're 70 years old and talking about dating somebody in their 20s.
Yeah. His own child, yeah.
You have this perversion about you as an individual.
Well,
regardless of the position that you hold.
Yeah.
It makes you a great person.
Well, maybe that's what he called about making America great again when women didn't have the rights to defend themselves against that type of garbage, Big C. And I want to say this one more thing about the NFL because we're talking about the combine and how important it is. And everybody's trying to make a play on players. The team that I do notice is not making a big stink about what's going on with these draft picks and the kids out of college is the New England Patriots with Belichick. And it reminds me of the late Al Davis, the way he built the Oakland Raiders. He built most of the Raiders dominant guys that came out of, they were backup players for other teams or cast-offs from other teams, Big C. That's what he did to make the Raiders so great. I think a lot of guys could turn away from the Mel Kiper garbage about who he thinks is going to be the best player. He's never run a team, Big C, never even played the game. And even if you say, well, you don't have to play the game to talk about the game, just look at his record. The guy's been horribly wrong. If he were an athlete, he would have been benched or he'd have traded, Big C. Your thoughts on that before we touch on the NBA?
Well, Charles, when you think about Al Davis and you think about the nucleus of the team that he built, okay, when he was with the Raiders,
yeah.
If you look at his offensive line, three of the starters came from small historical black colleges.
Yeah.
Came for his Super Bowl runs. So when you think about that, I think about the last Super Bowl that they played in when they beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
With Jim Plunkett at quarterback. They had Henry Lawrence, Texas, Florida A&M at tackle.
Yeah.
They had Art Shell, out of historically black college, Norfolk State.
Yeah.
They had Gene Upshaw out of Grambling. Okay. These were three historically black college offensive linemen that were starting in the Super Bowl. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you talk about, what they meant to the NFL and where you can go out and find talent, Mel Kiper would have never knew these guys existed.
Yeah.
When I looked at, the Super Bowl, Charlton, and we saw the historically black college players being honored.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper knew none of those guys when they were in college.
No.
He knew nothing about them other than that they played in the NFL. He knew nothing about their background. He knew nothing about their universities, Charlton. And those were just the ones that were there that were still alive and capable of walking out on the field.
Yeah.
So, if you're not playing on television, Mel Kiper doesn't know anything about you. But he doesn't know anything about talent either, Charlton. When you think about how those players have made the NFL better over the years, but Charlton, those players would have not been invited to the combine either.
Yeah.
If the combine had existed then, those players from historically black colleges, Charlton, would not have been invited to the combine.
Yeah.
Because people would have known that they could have got those players from less, but if they exposed them to the world, to let the world see how great an athlete they were, they would have dominated the entire combine, Charlton. Those white athletes would not have had a chance.
Yeah, and that.
So, I look at what we just talked about with the White House.
Yeah.
Well, not Chip Kelly, Kelly, the quarterback out of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Was not invited to the combine because he had some off-field action that occurred. And he talked about men being violent towards women.
Yeah.
I don't know what the total action was that he was involved in, but Roger Goodell said he could not come to the combine because it was a detriment to the Shield.
And that was not on tape.
Detriment to the Shield.
Yeah. And
okay, but here it is. He's saying that it's okay for the Shield to go to the White House, to a known molester's house, and hang out.
Yeah.
That's okay. So how does Roger Goodell address that? It's okay to go for the NFL to go hang out with a known molester versus a guy who's been accused of something, okay?
Yeah, and in fact, what...
that hasn't been convicted. So, and when we're looking at Charlton, does anybody from Baylor get invited to the combine, any of those players?
Wow.
All those players have been labeled under the same umbrella because they come from Baylor. So are they allowed to come to the combine because they went to Baylor and we know of all the charges that have been leveled against Baylor University football team?
Yeah.
So they invited those players to the combine? I beg to say that there'll be several players from Baylor, Charlton, at the combine because people are looking at the draft stock and where they'll go in the first couple rounds of the draft.
And see, Big C, that's real talk because we all want to keep our children safe. We want to keep women safe. I think last night POTUS had some type of bill, even though he did the grabbing a woman by the vagina, and the guy that had the taped interview, he got fired. I think it was, I forgot the network that, yeah, Yeah, he got fired. And then they also had this thing where they had the Miss Universe contest. He's no longer doing that again. And that imagine some of those women who said he would come into the locker room and he would stare at them up and down while they were half naked, Big C. And that's the same POTUS that all these NFL players are told you should go stand next to this guy, especially those of you who have daughters and wives. That's why I have no respect for Tom Brady. I mean, just a quiet knucklehead when it comes to saying anything that's going to protect somebody else. And they had this lost jersey to deflect away from his incompetence of even saying everybody should be treated fair, Big C. But I just think that's horrible, and that's why I think Adam Silver, and again, no one's perfect, but Silver's a much better commissioner than what Goodell has been, just based on that matter for women in itself, Big C. As we transition into another program in the final 15 minutes of today's show, our anniversary of Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network, we call it Real Sports Talk because it is real. This is the same thing you hear when guys are not afraid to say what's on their mind. And if we're wrong, just let us know. Tweet out to us at YesCharlton on Twitter or follow us on the iHeart Radio Network. I want to just bring up this thing about the NBA, and we have all these teams after the All-Star break shuffling for who's going to be on what team, who's going to make a run. We know what happened with Sacramento and New Orleans, and it hasn't worked out yet, but maybe give it 5 games. Sacramento also seems to be falling off the radar. I thought they were going to be a playoff team with Cousins. Now that they don't have them, chances are they have to look at rebuilding for next year. But when you have Durant with the MCL tear, Big C, they're saying he should be back for the playoffs. Do you think he'll be just as effective? Your thoughts, Big C?
He's not a physical player. He's not an inside player. He's just a basketball player. He raises up and shoots more jumpers than he does dunk shots.
Yeah.
So this is a thing that really won't affect him. He'll have that rise, and I think he had more of a strain than he did of a tear. But you sit out, and even if you do have a tear, Charlton, with orthoscopic procedures that you have nowadays, I mean, somebody's up and ready to go in 2 weeks.
He might come back stronger, Big C, when you think about it.
So it's a matter of really him a rest.
Yeah.
And people talking about Durant, you got to realize Cleveland lost love a little over a week ago.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about this balancing act of the 2 best organizations in the NBA, they both have lost critical front court people, Charles.
Yeah.
So, it's about who's going to be healthy in the playoffs. People talk about making a playoff run. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a 1 seed or a 2 seed or a 3 seed.
Yeah.
It's about how healthy you are, Charles, when you get to that point in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're not going to limp into the playoffs. You look at Toronto. They just lost Kyle Lowry with wrist injury.
Yeah.
Okay, will he be able to come back because he's having surgery?
Yeah.
We saw where the Clippers over the past couple of years have been decimated. Come playoffs, great regular season, but all of a sudden they get to the playoffs, they're decimated.
Yeah.
And so this is what you have to hope against when you get to the playoffs, Charlton, that the team is healthy. Everybody has nicks and pains and aches throughout the year. If you're playing, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
We don't see the magnitude of the injuries that these players have in the NBA because they're not talked about. The Durant scenario, man, he got hurt, but he still stayed out on the court a couple more runs up and down the court, so it wasn't that serious. It's just the pain started to build on him, and he's like, hey, let me shut this down. It doesn't matter right now if Durant doesn't play the next 25, 30 games. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Even if he missed the first round of the playoffs. Yes, he's the Warriors' leading scorer, but they have 2 other guys, Charlton, that can be your leading scorer on any night. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are having an off year. They deferred to Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So were they waiting on the playoffs to turn it up?
Yeah.
You got to look at it from that perspective.
And that's also, remember last year when Curry was hurt in one of the playoff games, I think they were playing against Houston, and he missed a couple of games, but they still got to the finals, and, a call here and there, and Draymond not being kicked out of a game, maybe they would have repeated as champions, also a Big C. And so that's always important when you have players, and you just brought it up, sometimes you get injured, and it might not even be a bad thing because you come back for the playoffs. Let me get your thoughts on the great Matt Barnes. He came out of Dale Campbell High School in Sacramento, California back in the day, and he's been a journeyman throughout the league, Big C, and now he's signed with the Golden State Warriors. Imagine being released by the Sacramento Kings, partly because of the incident that he and Boogie Cousins had in New York City in a nightclub, Big C, and now he's playing with the hottest team in the NBA. That's called bad luck turned into good luck, Big C. That's called serendipity. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, those things happen, Jonathan. It's the same thing with Andrew Bogut. They released kicked out of Dallas, a team that was going nowhere.
Yeah.
With Cleveland.
Yeah.
Where he was on the championship team with the Warriors just 2 short seasons ago. But, it's what preparation meets opportunity, Charlton.
Yeah.
With injuries, teams have to pick up players.
Yeah.
And they look at the best player out there that's available. Barnes, is not a salary cap hit. They bring him in because he's cleared free agency. He's a player with the NFL and NBA skills, Charlton. He's played in the league, so people know that he has the talent to be in the league.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that they look at. You bring in somebody that's a viable entity that can mesh with the type of style of basketball that you play.
Yeah.
There's players out there all over the place, Charlton, in the D-League as well as players sitting at home. But finding a player who fits your scheme, that's what you look for. Barnes is not going to come in and be an egotistical player. He's a player that's coming from a losing organization. He's used to losing.
Yeah.
So he's going to be like
so he's going to be like the guy that got fired. He did get fired. They got a job at a better place. He's the guy that his girlfriend left him, and now he's dating a supermodel, Big C. That's what happened in the Barnes, Big C.
You talk about humble and listen, that's Barnes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And knowing that you got a couple of superstars on the team also,
Yeah.
that you're not better than, so you can't walk in there with a big stick saying, hey, I'm the guy.
Yeah,
all we got to do is when you want me to line up.
that's funny. I just want to say we want to touch on some of the NBA games coming up tonight. You have the Orlando. They're playing with a 1.5-point favorite over the Posse on Broadway, the New York Knicks. Toronto's a 4-point favorite over Washington. Miami is favored by 8 over Philadelphia. Atlanta's favored by 5 over Dallas. You have Cleveland a 1-point favorite over Boston. And the over-under in that, Big C, is 221 points, Big C. Milwaukee's favored by 3 over Denver. New Orleans with Boogie Cousins and Davis, they're a 1-point favorite over Detroit. San Antonio is a 10-point favorite over Indiana. Has anyone heard from Larry Bird since that $400 million was won in Indiana, Big C? Have you heard from the great Bird man, Big C? Who was that great actor that said, "Here's Johnny"? That was in The Shining, wasn't it? With the Jack.
That was Jack Nicholson. That movie talking. When you think about it, Larry Bird, that time he's always with anybody.
I'm gonna hear. We're gonna hear "Here's Larry" by the time we decide to check back in, Big C. Also back to the NBA, the Utah Jazz playing well. They're a 6-point favorite over Minnesota. And the LA Clippers are a 1-point favorite over Houston. Houston can shoot the lights out. I'd be surprised if Houston doesn't sneak that game down in LA. And Sacramento at home against the Brooklyn. And the Nets have only won 9 games on the season, Big C. They're almost the total opposite of Golden State. Any one of those games strike a bell for you? Is it something you want to pay ticket? Well, you don't pay for anything anyway, Big C. Any game would kind of sort of satisfy your curiosity, Big C. Your thoughts?
The Nets game, Charlton, has no relevance in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's almost an atrocity that the game has to tip off.
Yeah.
When you think about that, these are grown men, Charlton, making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they put on such anemic performances night in, night out.
Yeah.
I think the Nets have lost like 15 in a row.
Yeah.
And that comes from lack of effort, Charlton. You can't say lack of talent. That's lack of effort.
Yeah.
It reminds you of the secondary of the San Francisco 49ers. When you walked out there, these guys wouldn't tackle anybody.
Yeah.
Their uniforms were cleaner after the game, Charlton, than what they were before the game started.
And that was Colin Kaepernick's fault. Okay, Big C, that was all Cap's fault.
and he got all ready
Yeah.
because he wouldn't go out there and play defensive back.
Yeah.
Defensive end.
Yeah.
So, this is what you look at with the Nets. You got guys who can't shoot the ball and definitely won't play defense. They went to the James Harden Matador school.
Yeah.
But, at least James Harden can shoot the ball.
Yeah, he can. Yeah.
The guys in the Nets, all they can do is cash a check.
Yeah. And well, the over-under against LA and Houston is 232, Big C. So that's going to be a shootout down there at Staples Center. I also want to just touch on a few more things with college basketball before we close out our show, Big C, on this anniversary of Big C Sports. If you look at college basketball this Wednesday night, you have Georgia a 5-point favorite over Auburn down in the SEC. Florida's favored by 10 over Arkansas, and Tennessee's favored by 5 over LSU. Up in the Big Ten, you have Michigan favored over Northwestern by 1. You have George Mason, and they're favored by 8 over Duquesne. Notre Dame's by 16.5 over Boston College. And out on the West Coast, UC Irvine's favored by 6 over UC Riverside. Southern California's favored by 12 over Washington State. and you have Nevada favored by 5 over San Jose State, and the great UCLA fight. They were both a 1-point favorite over the Washington Huskies. Big C, I just want to say this final segment of Big C Sports is brought to you by Sports Insurance through Big C Sports. Through Ben and Mark, we can insure any pro athlete and college athlete as well as high school players throughout the country in all 50 states. Tweet out the Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We're also covering people with life insurance. We can take care of you with that with United Labor, and we can make sure that you get covered just by tweeting out the Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. In the final 5 minutes of today's anniversary of Charlton and Big C Sports, Big C, who would steal money from one of the toughest fighters in the history of the world? He's never lost a fight, but Floyd Money Mayweather has had his home burglarized. I don't know how many houses he had, but I think they took several $1 million. It happened before back in 2008 where they took about $7 million. Big C, who got $7 million sitting in the house? Yeah. Yeah.
So let's would have gone into the house.
I guess.
I mean, because some layman person is not just going to go into his house because they're worried about a security system.
Yeah.
What he may have security-wise, whether he has physical or just electronic security.
Yeah.
So these are people who know where things are in your house. This is not a random act from some people that, hey, there's Floyd's house, let's go in there.
Yeah.
Okay, these are people that know how to get through the house and get through it expeditiously. But, to keep that kind of money around in your house, and I mean, Floyd has always bragged about it, sometimes you get what you ask for.
Yeah.
And Floyd, he ain't gonna scare nobody on the street. He ain't big as a sandwich, all right?
Right. It's the bodyguards that you got to be worried about, Big C.
Yeah, but I got a leg bigger than Floyd.
Okay, but you don't have 12 bodyguards with guns.
Well, that's what I mean, Charlton. When you talk about bodyguards with guns and security,
Yeah.
who's going to go into somebody's house who is known to have it? It's just like with the Kim Kardashian scenario, where she got robbed in Paris.
Yeah.
Okay, these are setup scenarios, Charlton. These are people who know you. The bodyguard knew her and her surroundings, so he was able to orchestrate the scenario.
Yeah.
This is the same thing with Merriweather. These are inside people who know what he has and where he has it. So they orchestrate these things, Charlton. But you're an ignorant individual, Charlton, walk around with $7 million cash in your house anyway.
Yeah.
Or $12 million in diamonds around your neck and just staying in a hotel. So you got to be careful what you ask for, because a lot of times it's delivered. And you got to think about the number of people in society, Charlton, that never have an opportunity to have that type of wealth or income, or those type of, perks.
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot of people feeling sorry for you. When you're talking about your brand and you got $7 million a house, in your house, you and Larry Bird, we know he was one of the best from the office.
Yeah.
When you walk around bragging about these things, Charlton, you
Yeah.
can't ask for sympathy from the general public.
Yeah.
When nobody in the general public's making that during a lifetime, and you got to hang it in a mattress.
Yeah. And see, that's the crazy thing, because, we keep it real on Big C Sports, and when you earn the money, you can spend it any way you want. But we talk about, this thing about having a social conscience about yourself, and we talked earlier about Dick Gregory and how intelligent he is and how knowledgeable the man is, how well-read he is, and he talks about common sense, and he's up in age, Big C, and I just want to see that our young men, no matter what color you are, what religion you are, as an example to everybody. I know you can be flamboyant and you can have the Bugatti and everything else that you want, but just in the case of Kim Kardashian and even Floyd Money Mayweather, and this is something I want you to touch on before we close on Big C Sports, because people here is worldwide and even throughout the universe, everybody says they want to be rich. I think that's why Donald Trump got elected. You got some poor people thinking that he's going to make them rich, and he didn't get rich by giving people money. He got rich by exploitation of people, Big C. That's why you want to talk about the bank he owns in Russia, even though he's never been there, right? But I just want to get your thoughts. What example would you say to these young guys? We have the combines going on. We have players all over the NBA and the NFL. We know ESPN, they did this 30 for 30 thing. What's the legacy? Muhammad Ali never walked around with $30 million or $10 million in his pocket, Big C. How can we get people to not even talk about how much money they have, especially when they're out in the public all the time? Your thoughts?
Charlton, it's just like the name you just mentioned, Dick Gregory, okay?
Yeah.
And you mentioned him along with Black History Month. With Dick Gregory, Charlton, it's Black History every day, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what America needs to recognize. Don't wasn't give us a month to celebrate. Give us every day to celebrate. And that's how athletes have to look at everything. Don't look at things just because it's during the season or during the combine. Look at life every day. How can you be better as a person? How can you help make others better? You know, when you talk about Dick Gregory, Charlton, one of the more iconic African-American figures in America over the last 50 years. It really has gone under the radar because he has not drawn attention to himself, Charlton. But he has been as big an advocate as anyone we talk about. We talked about Harry Belafonte earlier. We've talked many times about Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King. Dick Gregory was an interactive figure with all of these people, Charlton. In Atlanta, Maynard Jackson, the first black mayor in America of a major metropolitan city. He and Dick Gregory were best of friends. They worked well in building that city. Dick Gregory is still a strong advocate for African America, Charlton. He just doesn't go out there and get in the camera because the work that you do can be done anonymously, Charlton.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, hey, here I am. It's like Donald Trump. I'm waiting on him either tomorrow or the next day to pat himself on the back about the speech he just made.
Oh, I thought you were going to say pay his tax return, show his tax return. You don't think he's going to do that, Big C, the tax return?
Never do that.
Oh, okay.
He'll sit there and talk about how great the speech was, how galvanizing it was for America, and America needed that. No, you needed that. America didn't need that. America was here before you showed up as president, and when you're gone, America still will be here as president.
Yeah.
In the presence that it is. So when you sit around and you only want to praise yourself, it's like going to the combine. You have to think about your future, not just what you do at the combine.
Yeah.
Don't walk into the combine with 10 pounds of gold around your neck and 5 pounds of diamonds around your wrist. Think about your future.
Yeah.
Not what you can make at this moment, because we all know that one catastrophic leg injury, all of that is over, Charlton.
Yeah.
And the way that the NFL does things now, it's no different than me pulling the Escalade out in the street.
Well, Big C, you do have insurance on the Escalade, correct? You don't just take your chances, right, Big C?
No.
Okay, just make sure. So in our final thoughts, I just want to say I appreciate and I love what we do with Big C Sports. I love it to the core. I love that we can cover Hollywood. I love that we can cover politics. I love that we can cover sports and blend it together. I love that we can cover some of the most intelligent people on the planet. We talk about history. We're pro-women. We're pro-equality for everybody. We are not racist. We're not homophobic. We're not sexist. We believe in the land of the free and the home of the brave is really what it can be. That's based on our Constitution. So as we go forward, Big C, I want you to close out so well as you normally do. In all your years of broadcasting and playing pro ball, Big C, just appreciate the knowledge and the wisdom that you bring to Big C Sports. And you're not edgy. You know, maybe you drink too much moonshine, Big C. We're going to try to cool off on some of that shine, Big C. But I do appreciate, in all honesty, how much knowledge you have. Out there on your boat doing the show, you don't have teleprompters or producers, maybe mosquitoes, Big C. So what can we expect from Big C Sports coming up in 2017, Big C?
Jonathan, we're looking for a wonderful year coming up. We're looking at building up to the NFL draft, looking at this free agency, how everybody is speculating who needs what. But players have to find out where they fit.
Yeah.
It's not always about the most money that you think you might get, because those are only one-year contracts in the NFL. But look where you're going to extend your career.
Yeah.
When you have an opportunity for success, you know, and we talked earlier about Colin Kaepernick. But there's some random teams out there with quarterbacks that are not as elite as he is. And even though you have 20 good decent quarterbacks in the NFL, there's not 15 quarterbacks in the NFL that's better than he is and have done more, Charlton, in the last 4 years in the NFL. So, you know, this is how players have to look at their future. This is how we look at the future of our program. We go out to try to make the listening audience understand what they're not getting elsewhere, Charlton, how everybody else is placating off each other. We're being real. We're not sitting there with the prompters, as you said, but we're bringing something to your home and hopefully to your mind that you will appreciate once again here in 2017, like we hope that you appreciated in 2016, and maintain being a fan of Charlton and Big C Sports.
Well, Big C, I really want to tell you, no matter where you are on the planet, we do appreciate everybody, and we'll bring it to you every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network. Follow Charlton and Big C Sports and we can do it just like nobody else can because we do it live and it's all real, Big C. I want to say there's never any room for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through any garbage or some man grabbing her by the crotch, just call 911 because that's a crime. And as we ever tell you, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.